presentation is Game, Crime, the Shadow Economy Around Digital Games as a Playground for Cybercrime. And obviously, you're at the 16th International Conference on Cyber Warfare. He will be the sole presenter. And with that, Alexander, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for the nice introduction. Our main goal is to point your interest as cyber criminologists to the domain of game crime. This is something I started to research together with Thomas Gabriel Rüdiger, who is also in the research team of this paper, 12 years ago. And we published a book called Game Crime back in 2012. And like last year, we decided to pick up the topic again and to continue further research. Thomas Gabriel Rüdiger is a cyber criminologist, and he is working on the topic at the Police Academy in Germany. For this particular research paper, our main or leading research questions were which aspects of cybercrime around digital games are identified by the players, and which measures do players suggest in order to better protect the community. So I always say in regards to this topic is where there is an incredible number of people and money is generated, there is ultimately also fraud. And in regards to digital games, as you know, the industry is emerging, especially due to mobile games, and also especially due to the COVID-19 crisis, as people are playing more and more games, spending more and more money for games and in games in regards to in-game purchases, trading virtual items, etc. But this topic of game crime has also been of interest in pop culture, like in the series Big Bang Theory, and from 2011, they started to include the theft of digital items and the trading of digital items in their TV shows, which was really perfect for this particular audience, because those who like to watch the Big Bang Theory, they are common with digital games like World of Warcraft, and they understand the jokes and they understand the storyline. But there's, of course, still a huge gap between those who understand that there is a digital economy in games and those who think playing a game is just what it sounds like, having some fun with your computer. But of course, the game crime is also something that the publishers and the developers of games are aware of. And in the FAQ of EVE Online, they say, please have a healthy distrust of strangers. And this is actually a great example, as EVE Online is one of the very rare games where what you do and what you possess is actually tradable and transferable to the real life economy. And if your ship breaks apart because someone shoots you or takes over your ship, you can lose up to $10,000, $15,000, depending on the amount of money you might have already spent to play the game and to invest in your ship. From the police side, they call it the bright and the dark side of police reports. So actually, at the moment, it's figures for Germany. The police reports of crimes from players that are actually reported in the police stations in regards to digital games are in the low 3 digits at the moment. But especially Thomas Gabriel Rüdiger and his research suggests that the dark side, that crimes that actually occur in digital games but that are not reported to the police, are in the high 5 or low 60 digits. And he says that actually the amount is that from one reported crime, actually 300 crimes actually occur in digital games and should be reported. But the reason why this is not happening is quite simple. The game developers, the game publishers, they try to solve the problems with their support officers within the community. So if someone hacks your FIFA account, you basically write an email to support, and hopefully 48 hours later, they give you back your items, they give you back your coins, they tell you to assign a new password or to enhance your cybersecurity on your devices. So because they don't want, of course, bad press, but we're talking a bit about different kind of crimes that occur, and they like to keep it by themselves. The reason is because nowadays, between digital games and the real world, you can convert dollars to in-game currencies, sometimes the other way around in games that support this. But there is, of course, the shadow economy where you can buy accounts on eBay, for example, and that you have illegal trading activities that is not supported by the publishers. And these trading activities occurs around digital items of your heroes, especially with FIFA Soccer, again, with certain players that you can trade for gold. And here on the left side, you see that you can buy those players either with real money, with tokens that you can only buy with real money, or with coins that you earn while playing the game. Nowadays, this economy is easy to access by the players, even if you are in the tramway or if you're sitting at university, because as a player, you don't even need to start the game. Most of those apps most of those games have an app that you simply open, and you can trade your players, etc., with your online app wherever you are. And the targets for cyber criminology in regards to digital games that have been identified and that we took a closer look at is basically your playing character and all the items, or your squad in FIFA, your credit card details, identity theft. So they try to steal your real life identity, your email address, your username, password, and then everything that you can turn back into real money, like the virtual goods. But there's also criminology in regards to stealing the source code from the game itself and run pirate servers. Other cases that have been identified is terrorism planning, and we're all currently writing another paper on this because this was really interesting. So you use digital games for meetings concerning illicit activities, something that we've also seen in another TV series 2 years ago, Jack Ryan. They had this case where the bad people, the terrorists, used a particular digital game to plan their terrorist activities in Europe. Money laundering, DDoS attacks, and also very important from our point of view is cyber grooming. I'll come to this in a second. So let's have a closer look the next 10 minutes at these particular points. So avatar theft means that they try to steal your login data. For that, they can, for example, use a keylogger, as we see here, or you receive a phishing email, which looks like an email from the support of the game. You click on it, you log in with your account, because what they basically do is they rebuild the login page, which nearly looks the same just from the graphics as the real login of the game. But of course, you always have a look on the domain itself where you log in with your data. And for DDoS attacks, basically, they can take over with if you use the same password for the game as for your other IoT devices or for your mail account, etc., etc. They gain access to your classic user password, and then they can take over your devices, and then they can start a DDoS attack, for example. Then the theft of the virtual items. So there are some tricks which players know. For example, you open a trading window, then you close it again, then you open it again, and you put in an item in your trading window which is not of high value, but maybe it's 4 in the morning, and the person you trade with still purchases a virtual sword for 5,000 coins, which is worth nothing. And here we have this huge discussion if this is part of the game mechanics. So if you play like this dark character and you do things like that, is it part of what you as a player do, or is it cyber criminology? Maybe the difference is if you use that coins that you earn not for your game progress, but you sell it to other players for real money. That could be the borderline between game mechanics and the cybercrime case. So here you see some screenshots of items then sold on eBay. What you do is you pay the money, then you try to meet this person online with his character. He gives you the items. It's of course a huge risk because there is no real contract. There's no one telling you that you really meet in game. So most of those offers can actually be just fraud, and you never receive that money. But nowadays with PayPal and secure purchases, the risk is a little bit lower because you can maybe claim back the money from PayPal. Game developers reacted on this, and they introduced that items are soul-bound. So basically, you pick up a very valuable item, and then basically you're not capable of selling it. But that's mostly rare cases, and there are in most of the games still items that have a lot of value. For pirate servers, this means that the source code of the game has been stolen. They run, so pirates run the whole game. and want players to pay a monthly fee for playing the game on an illegal server. Of course, please never do that. The game experience will not be the same, and what you support is you support bad people that conducted a crime stealing the source code. What's quite important, and this started in 2011, as I said before, is that chats of games are used for illicit activities. And there's an example in World of Warcraft planning an attack on a famous person in the US. And they actually used, for this case, language of the game. So the famous person was Onyxia the Dragon. And so even if there is an AI analyzing what people discuss, it's very hard to find that such illegal activity is happening. Money laundering, that was a paper from myself back in 2012, how you use cryptocurrencies. At that time, it was still possible with Bitcoin mixers, which is something that you should not do nowadays because they will track you down. But that was how I started to look into cryptocurrencies and what you can do with blockchain technologies besides speculation. And this is my other talk today. But of course, money laundering means that you buy digital goods, you sell the digital goods, and therefore you launder like money that you stole into money that is regular on your bank account if you use games that allow you officially to resell the goods, and the game provider takes some percent of the trades. And then something that is important for Austria and Germany is reviving the tradition of the Second World War Nazis, which is a huge crime, of course, in Austria. And if you look into the Android store, the Google Play Store, you find some virtual environments there, like the game Germania, where basically people that adore this time meet and cheer about this particular time in our history. So cyber criminologists are encouraged to look more into those chats, especially in Austria and Germany. DDoS attacks, it's a huge thing. As you know, many websites have been down recently. And there's also a game called Loic, which is at the end only used to start DDoS attacks. So the goals of the game is to enter website addresses, and then your device starts such an attack. And a really important topic is sexual offenses and cyber grooming. So for cyber grooming, meaning that you try to get pornographic pictures taken by kids. And while social media is there used by those really bad people to attract young girls, online games like Habbo Hotel, but also other games, every game where there is a chat involved and that kids play can be used for such very bad and illegal activities. And this is something that we all have to have in mind on and have to look at, especially if you have if you have kids at home. Always try to look into those chats and try that your kids speak with you about what they are doing in the game and with whom they're chatting. And of course, there are insulting offenses, which is fun because, like in Germany, if someone blames your dwarf, you can sue them if you feel that he blames you as a person. In Austria, as long as they just blame your dwarf, if you play a dwarf and not you as a person, you cannot sue. So you can say that any crime that can be committed through communication can also be committed in virtual worlds. So to conclude, we have to think about who is responsible for all this. This is the publishers of the game. So what was fun to see is that most World of Warcraft accounts were at the early days of World of Warcraft 2.5, 2.6, 2007, more secured by the players than their bank accounts. So they already had two-factor authentications. Then we have the tribunal where you can, for example, blame other people or report them. In the US, you always have say something, see something, say something. So that's quite of the same in the virtual world. Is the government responsible? We have first approaches from the German county of Nordrhein-Westfalen, where they have actually police officer in live simulation walking around looking on the German servers if game crime occurs. Are the users responsible solely? Or are, like, for example, the NGOs or the developers of software where the programs are running responsible? From the game developers' point of view, they say, and this is from the Steam, it's a huge platform where you can buy and sell games. they say it is your responsibility to safeguard your account against such activities, and this is clear in their regulations. So 15 minutes, perfect in time. You find most of our research linked from my ResearchGate profile. You can follow us or me on Twitter. I can link you with my colleagues or my personal website, alexpfeiffer.it, where you can also find some of my research and additional work. Thank you very much.
All right, outstanding. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for the nice words in the chat.
Well, if nobody has one, I'll ask a quick question, which is, you mentioned the reporting of crime, game crime being very low. Why do you think that is? Is it because because the game publishers typically take care of it, in that if, I've got money or a character stolen, they take care of it and I don't have to report it? Or is part of it due to, just sort of a reluctance to go to, the police and say, well, this virtual axe was stolen online, and, that kind of reluctance?
I think it's a good mix of both. So on the one hand, if you're happy as a player that you have your items back, for you the case might be solved and you don't want to go to the next police station and report it. Which could be also that there is this barrier that you don't want to be blamed by the police officer, and they say, why, it's just a game. And then you say, but I spent 3,000 euros for FIFA and my account has been stolen 3 times in a row. So the game manufacturer is not giving me my items back because they think that kind of, I just pretend that someone steals my account, but at the end it's myself stealing the things from my account, selling it on the black market. We had a case like this, and but Blizzard was really great, I have to say, because they really looked into the player's data, and then they found like a worm on the computer which is stealing the passwords, and then Blizzard was sending an executable file to the player. His name was Berkodani, his avatar's name. So he installed this antivirus software, especially trying to delete this kind of worm, and from that moment the case was solved. The huge issue we have is with this crime happening in virtual worlds is that each game has kind of a game economy with a special valuable items, like in the real world, should only be there in a specific amount. Like there's one super epic sword. So if more and more people steal these particular swords, and then the game providers just copy and paste the sword again to the player, we have obviously more of those swords in the game. But this is from a macroeconomics perspective an issue, and this would be for an economics conference. But I think it's a very interesting topic to look at, and especially as games are increasing and the amount of money spent for those items is increasing extremely. I just try to open your minds a bit to look in your research also to the domain of games, and not think it's just for some nerds.
Right. Anyone else have questions?
Have you looked into this, what kind of games are mostly used, or is it all games? Basically, it is all games where what you have as a player in the game is of certain real life value for other players. So maybe if you play Mario Kart, it makes no sense to steal the account because you cannot sell the items from this game. But with FIFA, especially with all kind of online role-playing games, even with League of Legends, where you can trade from one to another account, those are the games that the thieves are looking at to make money.
And I see a couple of hands up. Tia for one, and where's the other one at? If you just want to jump in and ask your question, we got about 2 minutes left before we jump to the next one.
Okay, I have a quick question. Have you looked into how much of this gaming money, which is stolen, or gaming assets, how much of them are used into the financing of further crime?
Oh, that's a good one.
There we would have to do further research, particularly on this. For this paper, my goal was to identify if the players already come up and see that there is game crime occurring, and those were the findings from the players' perspective. But it's a really good point for future research, and I pass it over to Thomas Gabriel-Rüdiger, who is running a department on cybercrime for police officers.